What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I wanted to put this in the beginning. Of course, we are coming to you live from Gotham Production Studios, which is our home here for X Drinking Buddy. Remember to subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/Brennan Tassif. You can also follow on social media at X Drinking Buddy on Instagram, Twitter, and follow me at Brennan T Comedy on all social media. Check out BrennanTComedy.com for the upcoming shows. And don't forget to get your X Drinking Buddy merch. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Boom. That's it. Easy peasy.
Grab me a beer and grab him a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your X Drinking Buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do. Hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but it's still one of my favorite things to do. Hang out with somebody and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I will be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, Scott Hall.
Hello, dude.
What up, man?
That was a lot.
Dang,
I listened to episodes before and you did it, and I was like, I wonder if he's gonna do that this time.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
I can't match that, but
there's a part of me that really wants to play. I'm a wrestling fan growing up, obviously in Florida. I really want to play the Scott Hall theme music. Yeah. I don't know if that means anything to you, but just saying joined by Scott Hall, I want there to be like.
This happens like all the. I do a bunch of shows and I always get introduced as like, oh, he's in the WWE.
Well, he's dead now,
like,
but
yeah, but people do that. Hosts will do that, and then they bring me up to a bunch of like 20-something-year-olds who have no idea who Scott Hall is.
Yeah, they don't get the reference.
Yeah, and it's just like a minute of me being like, just forget everything you just said.
Yeah, it was a wrestler from like the 90s. He was very cool.
I get called Chico a lot growing up.
Hey,
yeah.
Hey, yo.
Chico, Razor Ramon.
Yeah, Chico. He used to walk around with a toothpick, and then he'd take it out and he'd throw it in people's faces.
He was just doing Scarface.
Yeah.
That's like literally how they.
And I think he's Italian. I don't even think he's Cuban.
No, he's Italian.
Yeah.
Razor Ramon.
Hey, yo. All right, so let's get into you. Scott, before we get too far into anything, because you're moving and shaking. You are partner in a club and everything, so let everyone know where they can find you. The club.
Grove 34.
In Astoria.
Grove 34 is in Astoria, Queens. We have a lot of big comics. It's a small like indie space, but we've had like Stavros, we've had Mark Norman, we've had Shane Gillis. We've
Joe
had a lot
List.
of cool people. Joe List is there all the time. I actually just started with him. And then it's Scott Hall stand-up on like every platform.
Okay, beautiful.
Stuff. Yeah.
So the Grove 34 thing, that's super cool to me because I am, obviously, my girlfriend Tracy and I are going to move in together probably. She listens, so she's really gonna like that. I threw probably on there, but she, I always go if I move in, and she's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
That's funny.
But she lives in Astoria, and then I started seeing everything popping up for Grove 34.
Yeah,
and I didn't even think about it because my whole head is like, "Oh, comedy happens in Manhattan."
Yeah.
But to your point, what we were talking about before the mics got hot, you're like, oh no, it's like it's an indie space, but a lot of big comics live in Astoria, so it's super convenient for them.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people need a workout room where they're not going to get mobbed, where they can actually do time.
Yeah.
It's like if you're doing spots at the clubs, unless it's a produced show and you're headlining or you're selling tickets at like a theater or it's your show, like you don't have the opportunity to just fuck around for an hour.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Oh yeah, especially for the hour, because even at the Cellar, I've talked to comics who are past at the Cellar, but they're not like super established, and they're like, no, I have to do my tight material every show because if I have one bad show, Essie's just going to stop booking me, and so it's got to be cool to have I mean, obviously the comics we're talking about are much further past on that level, but it's got to still be cool to have a room where you can have established comics come in and just like you said, like dick around and kind of like find their footing.
Yeah, and also as comedy gets bigger, like more people like comedy. Like people are becoming smarter audience members, and they're watching like these people's podcasts, and they're watching these people's like, you know, their YouTube content where it's like behind the scenes stuff of them on the road and all that stuff. So the idea that they'll pay $20 or go to a show to watch their favorite comic work out new material and try new stuff. It used to be like a thing of like, I don't want to see that, but now it's like, yeah, I would love to go see them like see what they're working on.
It's one of my favorite things, and this happened with Soder because I was watching when I first moved to New York. I was going to the stand like every single night, and Soder was just always. I felt like I was seeing him like 2 or 3 times a week, and I remember he started working on a bit, and he was like, I don't know if he was just acting it or whatever, but he literally like had a notebook and was like, I just wrote this down today. And then fast forward, his special just came out on YouTube, and it's one of the biggest bits in the special. And I was like, I was there when he first like spit that, like vomited that out into the world. And now it's like a refined like bit. And I think it's one of the coolest things to watch. It's like watching a child grow.
Especially as a comic. But that's the thing is I think more audiences are becoming more of that.
Yeah.
That's been my theory for a while, especially with the internet, is that everybody's interested in the second layer of things now because they have access to it. So, but it does create a cool atmosphere. Like every Grove show, because we have regulars in Astoria because it's like
it's Astoria.
Yeah, those people don't want to go to Manhattan or whatever, but they'll come out and they get to see their favorite comics like loose. Yeah. So the shows, every show they come to is like this loose, fun vibe that's not necessarily like super structured. Come in, get the fuck out. Like, buy your drink, sit down, be quiet, listen to the thing, and leave. It's like, it's very loose, chill. They know us, and the comics are kind of riffing with them. It creates a very cool vibe that I don't think you can have in a regular club.
I completely agree with that because I saw Joe's been putting out a lot of his crowd work stuff from 34. Grove, and it's funny because I'm like, you were just here last week. Like, I just saw it. Like, and he's talking to the audience, and it's like, oh, damn, man. And like at one point, he was like, I'm going to have to do all new material. You just heard this hour last week. I'm going to have to do everything new. He's like, all because of you. Forget all these other people in here because of you.
It's very fun because he talks a lot of shit about Grove too when he goes up normally. Yeah. And as a bit. Yeah. But it's very fun to be in the room for those shows.
God, that's so much fun, man. So how did you even get into stand-up? And I asked all my guests this because to what you referenced earlier, stand-up for a very long time was such a super niche thing. Yeah. Where I'm always fascinated because people will be like, oh, I moved to New York to be an actor, or to be a model, or to get into like SNL. But like, how did you find actual stand-up comedy?
Well, similar to what we were talking about beforehand, where you got all emotional. Yeah. You were talking about your childhood and showing me your scars and stuff. And it's like, I mean, the premise of this podcast holds true. Like, I am a broken human. Yeah. But when I was growing up.
Should have called it Broken Toys.
Yeah. we
copyright, patent pending.
Broken Toys. I had like a pretty crazy childhood, just in the sense of like never comfortable, abusive household from one of my parents, and just like nothing really made sense. Yeah. And comedy, it was something that made sense to me. Like, I started watching comedy when the Comedy Central half hours were coming out.
I used to record those on VHS.
Yeah, and nobody cared. Yeah. So it's crazy to me that like I would have friends from high school, and I lived close to my school, and I'd be like, come over after school and I'll show you something. And it was like Reggie Watts. Like, yeah, my penis. My dick. I'll show you. I would show him Reggie Watts, or like Jim Gaffigan when he still had hair, like the Cornstalk special. Yeah. Louis when he's wearing like the red shirt and like the that's special. And so and I was showing these people all these things, and I just fell in love with that, and which I would keep with my dad late at night trying to show him Louis and all these things. Yeah. And I just had a deep love for stand up very early. And I think part of that was it was these people, like you said earlier, these people taking things that normally nobody would talking about and make them funny. Mm-hmm. And I also think because I was an abusive childhood, that like the world on its face, what people are telling me, like how the world's supposed to work, your parents are supposed to love you, people are supposed to be nice to you, teachers are right, and everybody, like, I didn't believe that immediately.
Yeah, it creates a real dichotomy with authority when people tell you one thing, but your actual life experience is the complete opposite. You're like, oh, you're all liars.
Yeah, I had that from a very young age. I remember, this is going to be aggressive, but I remember like getting in fights with my parents, and the next day they'd be like, oh, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas? And I remember being 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and I still kind of have this feeling. Not so much, it's not a resentment now, but it's a guilt now. But it used to be like, we don't get along. Yeah, we don't have to play this game of like, oh, what do you want for? And I know that's like a sad thing to hear about like your family. We're cool now, but that was like the feeling I had. And so stand up made sense to me, of someone being like, hey, here's this thing, here's how it really is. Yeah. And it's like something
pulling
about
back the curtain, really.
Yeah, and I don't
like, oh yeah, they're telling the truth.
Yeah,
these are the only truth tellers in my life.
I know. I hate that. I hate when people say that, but it's true. Yeah.
Well, people get mad at me because I'm super pretentious about comedy.
Really?
And people are like, I'm just up there to make people laugh. And I'm like, well, actually, could you actually stick to your voice and challenge the status quo as we are supposed to and meant to do?
Yeah. I don't like that. I don't like comics that are like that, though.
Like me?
I'm not drawn to. No, not like that.
No. I've had literal disagreements, and I like that about the show. Is like you were saying with the family thing. Like we don't have to pretend that we're all on the same. Like some of us have different views, and I've had comics on where they're like, "Oh, at the end of the day, it's my job just to make the crowd laugh. If I can make the audience laugh, I did my job." Which, yeah, I guess technically on paper that's true, but I'm also like. Yeah, but you're humping a stool and like making like gargling noises, talking about cock. Like that's not.
But that's the thing.
Like, are we really doing that? Like.
But that's the difference. Those people, I bet too, if you asked them if they grew up watching comedy, they'd say no.
Yeah, or you would ask them about their childhood, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's great."
Yeah, it's fine.
And it's like, "Oh, ugh,
I
gross.
think you can be broken.
Gross, happy childhood."
I think you can be funny and also, I think you can be well adjusted and also funny.
Yeah.
But I just think that this is an art.
No, I'm kidding. Absolutely.
But there's some people treat it like an art, and some people are doing the job of a comic. I just think this is an art, and that means that there's a massive spectrum.
Wide spectrum. Yeah.
So it's like, but I used to beat myself up when I was like I want to be like that guy, but I'm not that guy.
Well, and it's interesting too because the reason, and the listeners are probably sick of hearing this, but the reason I got into stand up was that Dane Cook Comedy Central Presents when he rips his shirt off and pours the water on himself.
That was one of my favorites.
Because I looked at it and I went, because I used to watch, I would watch all of them. So like Mitch Hedberg, Tom Rhodes, those guys, Greg Giraldo, I'd watch those and I'd be like, oh, I can't. Like, they're hilarious and I love what they're doing because they're making me laugh and taking me out of my anxiety for 30 minutes, but I can't do that. And then I saw Dane do it and I go,
I could do that.
Oh, I said, I want to do that. That looks like fun. And that's why I got into it. But
do you feel the same way now?
Again, people talk shit about him. That guy is the reason for a lot of stand-ups today.
I'll talk shit about him now. At then he was like, yeah, he revolutionized.
But you're saying,
but now he's like, I don't know.
I haven't seen him now, so
go look up when TJ Miller, when he popped off at the Laugh Factory, and TJ Miller like said a bunch of stuff about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was
TJ of all people.
Well, look up when he had Steve Byrne come to his house and then told Steve Byrne he's stealing his essence.
Oh, really?
Dane Cook said that to Steve Byrne.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's not get off on it. I'm just saying that's the reason.
I know. I just love comedy, so I love all this other stuff too. No, but he's a good comic, and that special was one that
that was one of the things where I was like, oh, that's like he's talking about the Kool-Aid Man and stuff, and it was like, oh, that's hilarious, but it's also like one of those things where even in that joke where he's like, oh yeah, and he's like, you better fix that wall. My dad's gonna come home and beat me with a belt. He's not gonna believe that the Kool-Aid Man burst through the wall.
Yeah.
And to our point, the whole thing we're talking about, it's funny on the surface, but then it also hits home with like broken kids where it's like, yeah, he's right. My dad is going to beat the shit out of me because you broke the fucking wall, asshole. And that's even funnier.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of thing where I kind of really like took to where I was like, oh, you can also like point out truths but also still be funny.
Yeah.
And so it is weird because you and I have a similar style in the fact that we talk a lot about ourselves.
Yeah.
And it is interesting when you see it's no shade, a lot of these comics are funny, but when people, and we talked about this while we were outside, but when people don't, when there's a disconnect between the person and then their stand-up, I find that very, for me, it's just straight difficult because it's like, no, I am, like it's an elevated version of myself on stage, but it's still me.
Yeah. But is that sustainable and are you fulfilled? It's like, that's the thing I just have. And it's the people I want to, I'm attracted to stand-ups who are trying to find themselves and trying to be honest, and their bits come from like something happened to them and they need to get it off their chest or like something stuck in their craw. And they're like, that was fucking weird, that interaction. And they just got to like figure out why
I've got a couple of bits like that where I'm like, I'm still going to keep doing this because this is really bothering me. It's not clicking with anybody, but it will eventually. This is really bothering me.
And then some people are just like, wouldn't it be funny if cars didn't have wheels? And it's like, shut up, retard. Like, which is also funny, but like I just don't have any interest in that.
Yeah,
like,
there are bits, and I talked about this on the podcast before, but there are bits I'll hear at mics and stuff where I will laugh because just it's a knee-jerk reaction because it's a funny joke, but in the midst of laughing, I'll be like, that is so fucking stupid.
Yeah. Well, Nick Mullen had a great thing about it too, which I'm trying to remind myself more lately because you can get bitter looking at the world like this, especially comedy.
Yeah.
But he said something in his special where he was like, I only see ones and zeros when I watch comedy now. It's like it is like that.
Yeah.
Someone brings up a topic and I'm immediately like thinking, all right, where's this going to go? There's the tag.
Well, and there's also, and I've gotten, started watching comedy, like I said, when I was 12, and I started doing comedy in 2009. So I've gotten very used to the idea of, obviously, comedy is subjective. It's not objective.
Yeah.
Like everyone has different upbringings and different things they relate to and stuff. But like I've got several bits where I talk about the show Burn Notice. And sometimes I do it, and this part of the room just is like, hell yeah! And then a lot of times I do it, and it's crickets.
I would laugh
so
just if I heard you bring up Burn Notice to begin with.
So it just depends on like the audience. But to your point, I could watch any special and go, okay, I see what they were trying to do there. Like I see that, I can see the joke. Now there's certain specials that I watch and I see the joke, and I just don't. I'm like, this isn't for me. This isn't. This isn't my kind of thing. But then they're hugely successful. So you're like, okay, so this is for somebody.
No, but that's where it's like, I know it's for somebody. Everyone's fine.
Yeah, but trust me, there's some specials that I just watch and I go, really? This is what we're doing?
But you have to be honest.
Ladies can't do comedy. It's been established.
I think that
that's a joke. I'm just kidding. Let's not get fired.
Well, Taylor Tomlinson got us late night thing.
Oh yeah,
she deserved it. She's funny.
The first special she did was obviously very funny, but the second one, which she's talking about therapy and stuff, and people were like ripping on her, like, "Oh, this isn't a therapy set," and I was like, "Dude, this is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, this is honest.
This is honest, and this is so funny. I like it when people do that. All right, we're talking in circles about how much we hate fucking
comedy,
popular.
Well, I don't want to talk about comedy too much. We can get into this rabbit hole.
Yeah, especially when it comes to New York, because there's so many different styles, and then we see certain people who are successful, and we know why they're successful. It's not for comedy.
But this is all we think about. This is my life.
I know. This is all in my head. Tick, 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 all the time.
Do you take breaks? Do you do anything to like breathe? Do you actively try to do anything that's not podcasting or comedy or editing?
I go to the gym 6 days a week.
Yeah, I see that.
But even at the gym, I'm thinking of bits.
I wrote a bit the other day.
I can't.
I'm trying.
I can't. This is I'm recovering this is when I find something, this is my thing.
I know.
And people are always like, I've gone on trips with my beautiful girlfriend, Tracy. I've gone on trips with her, like with her family, and I will be the night before or like the day before cutting clips, podcast, this, that. Yep. And I do all that to have them loaded in my phone. So then when we go do whatever vacation we're doing, I'm like, okay, I can just post from my phone, post from right here, go into Google Photos, download it to the phone, boom, post. Yeah. I feel like, and I'm 36 now. I'll be 36 in a couple months. And I feel like I have so much to say and no one to listen. So for me, podcasting, comedy, it's important.
What a narcissistic
so I
thing
never
to say.
No, it's actually a line from a movie. If anybody's seen my set,
that's so funny.
Jerry Maguire, it's the fucking opening scene.
Is it?
Yeah, I wrote and I'm not even a writer.
I'm fucking around.
I had so much to say and no one to listen. Yeah, but I do. I mean, I've got like 15 minutes of material about taking movie lines from movies and then using them in everyday life, But that is honestly how I feel, because I started comedy super young. I started at 21. But the problem is, between my drinking and drugs and everything, I kept taking these massive breaks. So now I'm not nearly like we were talking about, I hang out at the Stand a lot, and I'll have comics 5 years younger than me who are only like 5 years into comedy, who are very successful, but then telling me like about joke structure. And I'm like, I get what they're doing. They're trying to be helpful. But at the same time, I'm like, who the fuck? What?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, you should probably tighten it up a little, make it a little more succinct. I'm like, I know that. That's not my style. Like, what are we doing?
Oh, yeah. Well, here we go. Back to the types of comedy.
Yeah. I'm a storyteller. I'm very aware I'm a storyteller. I know that doesn't work for New York, but that's what it took me 10 years to find my voice, and that's my voice, and that's what I fucking do.
That is the game, though, is like realizing that you're not doing comedy for your peers.
Yeah. And then these fucking
people
kids
don't
are like,
stuff. I'm like, okay.
You should work on more setup punch. Tight. And I'm like, how about I fucking setup punch you in the goddamn throat? How about that?
It's like, maybe you should stop being everybody else.
Yeah.
Maybe when people forget you after you get off stage because you're little hoo-hoos. I hate that. I hate when people are up in there just like jam fucking like...
You're doing your little shtick.
I have a buddy and he does a shtick and he jams as many fucking tags as possible into every joke to make it like, well, Guatemalan, like, blah, blah, like little funny words.
You just stop doing
nobody talks like that.
You just stop doing the bit.
Yeah.
When they like set up and then they have one punch and then they do another punch and then by the fourth punch you're like
tired.
the fourth tag. It's like we don't even remember what the setup was anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Like now you're just saying things.
Yeah, cute stuff.
Oh God. All right, let's talk about you, Scott.
Well, I do want to say that I think, and this applies to me too, but that time that you took off, or not took off, but the one advantage you have starting a little bit later, because I didn't start till I was 28, but is that you have a life.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids that start now, like that's why everything they have is
If I have to hear about masturbation one more fucking time.
Yeah, sex jokes. Oh, I fucked a poet. That's a girl. There's a girl's being like, I fucked this guy who's not good enough to have sex with me, but I did it anyway. Isn't that funny? It's like, no, dude.
Oopsies.
Ooh. I don't like. Look, we're going right back. But you got to say what you didn't like, so let me say.
Yeah, no, this is your episode.
This is the last thing I'll say about comedy. But I don't like sex jokes.
Oh, I don't.
I find them to be. And everybody can do everything funny. You know, obviously there are people that can make anything funny. So that's they do exist. But there's a lot of people in like the middle range that's like sex is like the lowest level of vulnerability that you can have. Mm-hmm. And I don't find it impressive when someone's like, I did this sexually, I've been doing that. And it's like, dude, you're not opening up at all.
I have one bit about sex, and it's actually about my anxiety.
Yeah.
In the bedroom.
Yeah, exactly.
And like that's the bit about like it's technically a sex joke because I'm talking about having sex, but the whole bit is about how I'm too afraid to ask for what I want to ask for butt stuff, but I'm too afraid to ask for butt stuff. So I talk about being sober, and the whole bit is like you'll never know how insecure you are until you're having sex stone sober, not asking for butt stuff. In fact,
your butt stuff or her butt stuff?
My butt stuff. I got to make it more clear in the joke. But and then in the bit, the big tag is like, in fact, what you'll do is you'll write a bit about it, and then you'll say it at a comedy show and hope she sees it. So now she knows you're into butt stuff. But like that's the only joke I have. Well, I shouldn't say only because only a Sith deals in absolutes. But that's probably one of the jokes I have that actually is sexual, and it's not even about sex. It's about how insecure I am as a human. Like it's not even about like so many mics I go to just because of my work schedule. The only time I can get stage time is during the day a lot of times, and so it's like everyone's just like jerk off this, masturbation that, and I'm like
3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, and you're like, what are we doing, man?
Because they're getting vulnerable. They're learning how to open up.
Yeah, but we've already learned
where
it.
You start.
We've already learned
we're
it.
old.
Yeah, we are.
I hate to say that. I'm 33, but it's like I've had a life.
Yeah,
I have real experiences, and I have real like. It's this podcast. You know what I mean? Like I've been to jail, been homeless, have had addictions, had to overcome like real things.
Yeah,
and have a lot of like depth that I need to talk about and explore.
See that need to talk about. Look at us, we're not that different. Yeah, we're not that different.
Fuck.
You literally just made fun of me for saying that 10 minutes.
Yeah, but that was just because it was
3
funny
minutes.
to do.
Yeah.
I do everything because it's funny, not because I mean any of it. I don't mean anything I say for the most part, if it's a bit.
When did you said you started at 28, and so we talked about your childhood a little bit and you getting into comedy. Did you make the decision? Like, what was the stopgap between, being 13, 14, watching Jim Gaffigan all the way to 28, like that 15-year period? What took you to so long to get on stage?
Well, one, you don't think it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, I think now more the number one job everyone wants to be is a creator. So it's very
well, and a lot of podcasts
now.
And stuff, they're like, comics openly talking about like, just go to an open mic. So now all these people show up to open mics and then they bomb and they go, oh, this is way harder than I thought.
I just wish people had more, they weren't as confident.
More shame?
I mean? Yeah, more shame.
Take a little shame.
So, but when I started, I
can't even open my phone on the subway. Like, how people are like recording. The second I put it up like this, I go, put your fucking phone away, you piece of shit. And I'm
I don't do that. I can barely be. I won't even like play on my phone if someone's standing next to me because I don't want them to see what I'm looking at. That's for real.
Yeah.
I'm riddled with shame. It's terrible.
I can't. So get a little more shame in your life.
But yeah, I had no self-esteem growing up, so there was like I could never do any of that, and I think because of the chaotic childhood and constantly running from my like reality, I really didn't have a purpose. Yeah. That's really just what it was. I had no purpose. I was in high school, not doing well. I graduated with like a 2.8, joined the Army.
You were in the Army?
Very briefly.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah. Very, very, very short stint. I don't talk about it much because I kind of just stopped going. I know people don't.
That's kind of illegal.
It is kind of illegal, and they did send me a letter. They were not
absent without leave.
They were not happy about it. No, AWOL, but I was a reservist.
Oh, okay.
So I got other than.
So we're gonna X out the Army thing.
Well, I did basic and everything, and then they put me at a reserve unit near my house. But I did it just to get away, just to like have because my dad used to sit me down.
In all seriousness, did you get it all sorted? Like you were discharged and everything like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. Why? Yeah, I'm not just coming on here talking about No, the government.
The MPs can find me. I'm at Grove 34. What's up now?
So funny.
I used to do that when people would leave mean comments. I would write my full address online and be like, come fucking stop by anytime you want to say that to my face.
That's healthy.
And then other comics were like, you have to stop doing that.
I think you should keep doing it. I support that. As a matter of fact, next time someone leaves me a bad comment, I'm going to put your address on.
You can find it. It's out there.
We'll send a link to one of your comments.
God. So your dad sat you down.
Yeah, my dad used to sit me down and just be like, what are you going to do with your life? And I never had an answer.
Shit.
And
that's heavy.
Yeah, I never had an answer. And he would say, I don't know is not an answer.
Yeah.
And he meant it in a loving way. My dad was the cool one. My mom, we didn't get along for a long time.
Yeah.
But I never thought about it. And I really fucked around until I went to jail. So
you graduate high school, barely.
Graduated high school.
Joined the Army.
Yeah.
How long are you actually in, like...
4 years, almost. Like I almost
so
hit
that's
my contract.
But no, but it's like that is a job. So it's like, it's not like there's empty space between that and...
Well, it was a reservist, so it wasn't...
So what were you doing?
For like a year, restaurant stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so just serving.
Look at us having things.
I was a big restaurant boy.
Yeah, I'm still.
That was my whole life. I got to.
It's my whole being,
bro. I was a restaurant boy.
I work on bits at the tables. I'm a storyteller, so it's easy because you can just be like, "Oh my god, this."
I credit that to a lot of my not having as much stage fright.
Yeah,
bartending and serving for so long, and just being in the restaurant business because it's like I talk to people all day.
Yeah,
I have no fear of talking to a stranger about something. I don't like it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm an extroverted introvert. Yeah, I don't like it, but I have no problem doing it.
Hey, that's why being running.
That's why I'm such a good host.
Yeah.
They don't. I don't get picked to host a lot. But,
comedy host.
Yeah. But when they ask me to host, I'm like, because everyone sees my material and they go, "Oh, he's too dark. He's too long-winded. Like he's not going to be a good host. He doesn't have bam, 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 bam."
Yeah.
And then when I do host, a lot of times people are kind of like, "Wait, you can do that?" And it's like, "Yeah, that's literally my job." Hey, how's everybody doing? How are we doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I do for a living.
When I first started,
and I'm very good at it.
Yeah. Well, you have to be.
Yeah.
You make a lot of money if you're fucking a good server, good bartender.
Hell yeah.
But I did that just because I was aimless. And the whole
So you still had no direction even after the 4 years in the Army?
No.
So then what happens?
I went to jail. I just got...
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I was really just drinking and drugging.
So when did you start drinking? How old were you when you started drinking?
High school.
Okay.
Maybe
like 15, 16?
Yeah, sneaking my dad's stuff, going to the local parties.
Were you popular?
No.
Okay.
No, not even a little bit. I was very weird. Because I was just so uncomfortable with my body. So I had no I was on the football team, but nobody liked me because I was fat and not kind of good. Yeah. I hit hard. I did make a point.
There's a lot of pain behind those eyes.
I would rock people in practice, but I would never get to play.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's the same way. I got bullied all through high school, and people were like, "Yeah, but you played football." And people see me now, the fucking statuesque figure that I am, and they go, "You mean you bullied people?" And I go, "Nope."
Yeah.
This all comes from somewhere. It's not from having a great time.
I've been yoked a few times.
Yeah, fucking pants in the middle of the auditorium in front of everybody.
Do you have body dysmorphia?
Yeah. I just found out.
You're in great shape, but I bet you're I hate myself.
I'm the fattest piece of shit you've ever met in your life, dude.
I had abs at one point, and I was like, nope, fat.
Yeah.
Fat retard.
Dude, I say this all the time. I think it's true. I'm one of, if not the strongest, one of the strongest people in comedy in New York.
Probably.
But then people...
I'd like to see you and Aaron Berg wrestle.
But people look at me, and I know I don't... Because I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not yoked. Yeah. So people look at me, and they go, yeah, I guess you're right. And it's like, dude, you don't understand.
Yeah.
And I hate myself so much. I'm in the gym 6 days a week, pushing super heavy weight because I hate it.
At least you don't post videos of you working out. Do you?
So remember when you were talking about earlier about how there's niche things online and certain things get a lot of views? Yeah.
Oh no, dude. Well, if you're serious about it,
it's not. No, it's not a lot.
If you're a goofball in your story every now and again.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but I posted in my story the other day of me doing 225 15 times on bench, and I literally just posted in the story why are you? I was I'm a stand up in a podcast, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And in the background I had Trick Daddy playing, so it was real, it was campy to me, it was funny, but at the same time I was but people also need to know that I'm fucking a monster.
Yeah, I don't hate that, but there are some people who make it their whole personality. And that's
No, and it's interesting because I know some people who are gotten pretty like big as far as like following wise, and it's because they're always posting stuff like half naked and shit. And I'm like, okay, yeah, and now you have the following, and now you're getting like stage time, but it's like those don't coincide. Like I have bits about the gym, but my bits about the gym are talking about like how I can relate to every breakup song, whether it's Kim by Eminem or an Ed Sheeran song about getting cheated on.
There is this weird, and now we're back, but there is this weird like thing in comedy and just social media in general where it's like people want these numbers and they don't really care how they get them. Yeah. And it's like, I know a lot of comics who have big followings and it's like because they're dancing online.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then they go to a show and it's like, these people aren't.
I've had people.
Like, what are you going to dance? Like, they don't know.
What are you going to dance? You fucking clown, make me laugh.
But they're like, oh, dance. And then it's like, you're not giving them the thing that you're known for.
Yeah.
So it's a weird, like.
There's people who blew up on social media for certain things. And then I've been at shows and other comics have come up to me and they go, hey, are you still going to mics? And I go, yeah. They go, you need to take so-and-so because they do not know how punchlines work. They don't know how joke structure works. They don't know any of this. They got famous for this thing, which isn't stand-up, but now they're getting stage time. And I like, they said it out of love. Like, you need to take this person to open mics because they need to understand how joke structure works.
Yeah.
Because you can't dance for 12 minutes on stage. And it's not feasible.
You
could. I guess. So you go to jail.
Yeah. Well, I was drinking and drugging, so I was kind of just like.
What drugs were you using?
Anything I could get my hands on.
Okay. And when did that start?
Anything I can get my hands on as soon as I got my hands on drugs.
Okay. But because you started drinking around 15, 16, you didn't have a whole lot of friends. You were bullied.
I'm trying to think exactly the timeline because it's kind of wild.
The minute details I find very fascinating.
Yeah, but I came home from the basic training in the Army, and then so I'm home. I'm a shithead kid. I don't like my parents. I have a $20,000 signing bonus
from the Army?
They gave me. Yeah. So I'm lying to my parents about.
Thanks, Bush.
Yeah, thank you. It was Obama.
Oh,
but I was.
Yeah, no, we don't like to mention him on the podcast.
China gets on my nerves.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Let's do a dueling presidential debate.
No. But I got a $20,000 signing bonus, and so I was just home like fucking around, dude.
Dude, $20,000's a lot for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, and I was just like, I think I was like pushing.
Were you still living at home?
Yeah, and my parents, we didn't get along.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to spend as much time as possible outside of the house, which meant I was just like sitting in Taco Bell parking lots with my friend, like smoking weed, and like we would drive up to Calvert County, Maryland, and like buy weed to sell.
Where are you from?
DC.
Okay.
So this is all in DC.
Yeah.
So we're driving up and like we're selling weed, we're buying weed, and like it's mostly just like
selling weed.
We're selling weed, buying weed.
Thank you for your service.
But we're drinking
full uniform.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing too: is I would drive, and I got driving on. I lost my license. I got suspended. And I would drive on it all.
Was
the time.
that just for?
It got suspended the first time.
Because it's weird what can get your license suspended.
I cannot remember.
You can get like a ticket and then like forget, and then they'll just take your license.
I think that might have been what happened.
Yeah.
Is but I kept driving on it. I got 17, and I would show them my military ID, and they'd be like, "I come to court," and I would just never go.
Yeah.
So
damn.
Yeah.
So how many times did that happen?
17 times.
Oh, you weren't kidding.
Yeah.
That's way too many times.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a few less. I might be exaggerating a little bit for effect, but
because I know this from personal experience that if they catch you on a suspended license, they can just take you to jail right then and there.
But they were like, "Oh, you're military, you're fine." And so I just kind of I was just using every excuse my whole life to not deal with the consequences.
God, so you were just throwing away the summonses, like I'm just not going to show up.
It just wasn't even in my brain to like go.
That is insane to me. The amount of anxiety I'm getting just from you telling this story, my hands are starting to sweat.
I'm on beta blockers. That's what I take now. But I lived in a constant state of panic growing up. I lived in a constant state of anxiety and fear and like, when am I going to get yelled at? When am I going to get hit? When am I going to get called this? Always waiting for it. Yeah. Always. Like in my room listening to like, if I'm in my apartment, and this is like nothing for my roommates or anything like that or anybody, but any house I've ever lived in, if I am in my room, I know exactly what is going on the
Yep,
outside.
me too.
And it's I might be watching something, but I am fucking paying attention.
Yeah,
I can't.
someone's in the kitchen. Someone's
And
I
it's like,
can't.
it blows my mind that they'll just be like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were in there." I was like, "I know exactly.
I know where everyone is at all times." It's
Yes.
interesting. A therapist told me one time it's called hyper awareness.
Yeah.
And it's a survival trait developed by, because like my ex stepdad used to come home hammered and like scream and beat the shit, and it was like a whole thing. So I developed this, and I was doing a bit about it because people always tell me like how in the restaurants they're like, "Oh, how did you know I needed more water? Like you're so good." And I'm like,
"Oh, I never thought about it like that."
And it's like, I'm hyper aware. I'm always aware of everything that's going on at all times at my tables and mostly in the restaurant. And I used to try to make it a bit, but it's so dark. But I was like, but it's not like a cool superpower. Like when people ask me, "What's your origin story?" It's like, "Oh, ex-stepdad, alcoholic, used to beat the shit out of us." Netflix doesn't like that origin story.
Yeah.
And it was like, but that's true. Like that's from the childhood I developed that, and now I just see and hear everything all the time.
These are things I'm starting to learn about myself through, because I didn't do therapy or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's just like self-help books and YouTube videos.
Well, in rehab, they make you go to therapy. That's kind of one of the things.
Yeah, in jail I did AA a little bit.
Yeah.
But
so 17 times you're just throwing away these things.
I just didn't have any concept
written
of
arrests.
consequences.
Yeah.
I don't think. I didn't have a. Well, here's the other thing too. When you're doing that stuff, you don't think about your future.
Yeah.
The idea that I was going to be 30 one day, it is like, I'm going to be homeless or kill myself. There is no like.
27 was my mark.
Yeah. So I was like,
I used to say in high school, I used to tell people, if I'm not like on the career trajectory that I want to be on, or if I'm not married with kids and a family by 27, I'm checking out. Because that's how much I didn't value, like that's how much I hated myself and like didn't value life. I used to, half joking, half serious, at 14 say this to kids, like at pregame meal. Mm-hmm. Like it'd be me and one other kid that we were both bullied on the team, so we'd sit kind of away from the team, and I would just be like, "Yeah, man, if by 27 if I don't have this figured out, I'm just gonna check out."
Yeah,
and it's like that's a real like thing.
It is
that kids think about.
I
thought about it.
I didn't have a concept of it, and during this time of the army and jail, which I credit jail to saving my life.
Yeah,
but I tried to kill myself twice during that period. I OD'd on pills one time. And then the other time, this is right before I went to jail. This is going to be aggressive.
And this is when you were still in the army?
No, I stopped going, and then they sent me a letter, and they were like, "Are you coming back?" It was kind of like it was like, "You're AWOL, dude. What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm not going." Yeah. Talked to my first sergeant. They were like, "All right, well, this, you know." They knew I was like. They also knew I wasn't in a good place.
Yeah, and you were on your way out anyway.
Forgiving. Yeah,
you said you were almost towards the end of your contract.
Yeah, and we were in a top-heavy unit that was like very lackadaisical. They were very cool with me.
Yeah,
you know, all things. I could have been dishonorable and been
it could have been
jail forever.
Bad.
Yeah, so
could have been really
yes.
bad.
They gave me a fine. I had to pay back my money. It was a bunch of stuff.
You had to pay back all 20 grand?
Not all of it, but a lot of it. Half.
Ooh,
like yeah.
Ouch.
Whatever. I just ignored it until I could.
Until you couldn't.
That's how I've done everything. But so I'm drinking and drugging. I get out, you know, it's 1 weekend a month. I'm not going. I'm lying to my parents what I'm doing every single day.
How old are you at this point? 22?
Yeah, let's say mid-20s. Yeah, like early mid-20s.
Okay.
Because I go to jail when I'm like 24.
Okay.
So between 18 and 20 and just like, and like 23, I'm just doing drugs, drinking. I'm out with like my best friend from high school, or from I've known him since second grade. He's still my best friend. His name's Rob. Shout out Rob. I love you. We talk all the time. But is
he gonna watch this?
Yeah, mate. Well, probably not. He's busy.
Come on, Rob. Give us the view, dude.
I can't get Rob to text me back sometimes. But he's we're just like doing hooligan shit. Like he's selling weed for real. I'm going with him and using the 20 grand to buy weed that I eventually just smoke.
Yeah.
And like we're going to parties, we're hanging out in like back of cars at the mall and stuff for like years. Just no plan, no whatever. Making restaurant money because it's like, and that's good money. You go, you show up, you make $400, you leave. It's like it's not like I don't have any money.
I say it all the time, man. The thing that kept me going back out, like one of the biggest problems was staying sober before I hit my actual real bottom. Was the fact that as a restaurant employee, and as a pretty, like I'm a good, like if you ask anybody, I'm a pretty decent guy. I was able to get things back so quickly. Like a lot of people is like, oh, you start a job and then you have to do your training. And then by the time you get your first check, you're like a month in. And then your check is only $400 every 2 weeks or $800 every 2 weeks. But in the restaurant industry, training's a week. You start making cash like the next week.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude,
Especially if you plow through training.
Yeah.
You do it in like 3
And
days.
if you're good at it, like I've been
I
in
can go
restaurants
anywhere.
for a long
Yeah.
time. You could drop me in the middle of any restaurant.
Show me your system. Show me what shit is.
What are we using?
I'll be
Aloha, Micros, like let's go. And it was one of those things where I would, instead of it taking 6 months to a year to get back on my feet, it would take me
fine. Exactly.
a month.
Well, that's
2
a hard,
months.
and that's really not good.
Yeah. And that's the reason I kept
And you're
going
getting
back
handed
out.
cash.
Yeah, because then I'd be 3 months sober and I'd be like, I overreacted. Like, look at this. I've got my own apartment now. Like, I got my own spot. Like, I'm good.
Well, you start feeling good, and then you're like, oh, I can celebrate.
Yeah.
I can take it easy, and it's just not the case. So I'm doing.
Perpetual cycle.
I'm running around. I have no real purpose. I'm dating girls because women were always a distraction. But I'm drinking. I OD on pills the first time just because I was like, I've had enough. I go buy a bunch of sleeping pills. I take it, but I'm around people, so it's probably for like more attention. I wake up in the hospital. My mom tries to come visit me. At this point, I'm living with a beautiful girl named Danielle. We broke up, but good for her.
Shout out Danielle.
Yeah, I was in a bad place. But dude, at this point, my parents are coming knocking on my door. They hear I'm in the hospital. My mom and my sister show up. My mom is not the one I got along with. This is before we had reconciled. She's knocking on my door being like, knowing I was in the hospital for a suicide attempt, just trying to like talk. We hadn't talked in a while.
Yeah.
Couldn't come to the door, like wouldn't talk to her. And then I just avoided them. And I started dating a girl after that I started dating the whole thing fell apart. I had to move out of that place. And then I started dating a girl who I dated in high school who's going to Virginia Tech.
Okay.
So I moved down there out of some like, because I have no plan for my life.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, just stay with me. And she doesn't know that. But she's like, it'd be cool if you like lived with me for the summer. I'm like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I moved down there. She's like going to classes, finishing up her last semester.
Put a pin in that real quick. Because as we were talking, I glanced up to look at the time, and I was like, "Oh, that red light is on, but that one's not." And I was like, "Wait, has it not been recording this whole
I
time?"
thought that too, but I trusted you.
I trust you too, Johnny. I just panicked.
He doesn't trust you. He came and got you.
I was worried.
For some reason, that's the only one that turns on. I don't know why.
That is weird.
All right.
Good.
Thanks, man.
No problem.
All right. We're gonna leave all that in.
No, that's good.
No, but
I love it.
Dude, I panicked because my regular engineer, Suki, who was my engineer for years, got a different job and moved on and stuff. And so now, it's like dating a new person. You got to kind of get used to like all the stuff.
Of course.
So I'm sorry, I cut you off. So you're hanging out at the mall. You're living with this. You said it was an ex-girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, so I'm fucking around DC.
That's hilarious to me. How she's like, "Oh, just stay with me," and you're like, "You have no idea what this is gonna actually mean."
I know. I feel she's someone I haven't reconciled with. Because I didn't when I got sober, I didn't do meetings. Mm-hmm. I just stopped. But it's something that I think that's just better off. I leave it alone.
Well, there's certain things too. Like I do meetings and I have a sponsor and I've worked the steps, and there are certain things on my 8-step, 9-step as far as making amends where he was like, "Yeah, you're not going to actually talk to this person. That's not a good idea."
Yeah.
So you make a living amends or you make amends in a different way, but he's like, "Why are you going to call? Like, why are you going to?"
I'm just upset her, and it'd be more about me than her.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
It's like,
yeah.
I don't. This isn't about me.
Yeah.
So leaving you alone, and letting you live your life is like, But
So did you stay with her?
well, I moved down to Virginia Tech. I kind of exhausted all my resources in Northern Virginia. My parents had enough. They put me out before, so I was living in a car, my friend's car, for a few months.
Wow. So you were like legit for a few months. I've been
Maybe
homeless,
like a
but it's
month.
always been like a week or two.
No, I was living in a car, dated a girl and moved in with her while I was living in a car because I got swag.
But I got that swag, baby.
I don't think she knew. I was working at the restaurant. She was a host. This is Danielle. She was a host. And
What restaurant are you working at? Is it like a
Rio
high
Tuscan
end?
Grill.
What is
Yeah,
it?
so middle to high
Okay.
end, like right before high end, like
Yeah.
right before Great American, like nice.
Upper middle, yeah.
Yeah, upper middle. So nice, wearing a white shirt every day, tie. Smelled like cat piss because I'm not showering. But I'm just working 100% of the shifts.
Yeah.
So my parents kicked me out.
I love guys like you.
Bro.
Where I was like, dude, I kind of want to take this night off. You're like, I got it. Or it's like, I don't want to close tonight. You're like, I'll do open to close. That's fine.
It was out of like, yeah, but it's one when it's like the guy needs money. It's another one like I have no other place to be.
Yeah, you might as well just be there.
Yeah, my parents had enough of the army stuff when I was fucking around the malls. And so before I tried to commit suicide and I met this girl, we're all working at this Italian restaurant. I'm sleeping in my friend's car. He also works there. Shout out, Rob.
Well, there's Rob.
Dude, we're best friends. But he let me sleep in the back. He let me sleep in his house for a little while, and then his mom was like, "That's crazy." So he let me sleep in the car, and like she's known me my whole life, so she was cool with that. She just knew, and she knew my parents, so it was very convoluted. But
the drug addict can come over, but he sleeps in the driveway.
yeah, for real though. And so I'm sleeping in the car. Every moment he's dropping me off at the mall where the restaurant is because he has a day job and he's doing restaurant stuff at night. He's dropping me off at like 7:00 in the morning, and I'm just like hanging out till 10 to when I can go into the restaurant, and then I'm working doubles.
Yeah,
and then I'm going home, and I don't have clothes, dude. It got so bad at one point where I was wearing the same socks every day.
Oof! And
so
in the
my
restaurant
socks,
industry, that's nasty.
My socks would get wet, and then my feet would bleed. Because the skin would wear thin because of the wet socks, so my feet would bleed. So I'd have to go in. He would drop me off. I would go into the bathroom and I would wrap my feet in paper towels.
Why aren't you buying stuff? Like, you've got money from the job. Are you just spending that on drugs and booze?
Yeah, just drugs, booze, just not being. I was stealing clothes. I think I was just spending it on drugs and booze and just trying to give it like to Rob, and like I always put myself last. Like, those are things that don't ever occur to me. Even now I have to work on like taking care of myself.
Oh, I'm the same way.
Me getting on beta blockers is like a thing of like, I can't feel the way I feel all the time.
Yeah.
And I've tried to raw dog it for so long and like put myself last, and it's like, that's not good for the people around me either.
I've gotten into bad trouble. Even in my, like, I'm coming up on 6 years of sober, and I've gotten into not bad trouble as far as like actual trouble, but like scrapes where I go so far out of my way because I put myself last. I'll go so far out of my way to do things for other people where it will create a significant resentment. And then it's I'm going to drink over this because I'm so pissed off.
And that's almost why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Is so you have something to be mad about.
Yeah, because I love being mad.
I love being mad. Hulk, baby. I love thinking everybody else is wrong and I'm better than them. And it's
that's my whole life.
Yeah, it's all cope bullshit.
Yeah,
and like everyone's fine, you're fine, and it's like I don't live in that space. So
oh my god, so I used to. Even when I would get sober and my life was going great, and like my ex-fiance and I would like everything was perfect, and I would smash it with a brick because it goes back to what you were saying earlier about the hyper awareness. Is like, I need to know I'm in control of this, and if it's going well, I need to break it with a brick so I can put it back together.
I
have to be in control.
I have a line in my act where I'm like, I just need something to worry about so I can relax.
Yeah,
and it's like that is how I feel on a regular basis. Like if I don't have anything to worry about, I'm fucking freaking out.
Yeah.
Like I make problems because I'm used to having a bunch of problems.
We strive. People like us are built. This is why we're so good at restaurants. People like us are built for chaos.
Yeah,
it's just what we grew up around. It's what we're used to.
Yeah, I'm calm.
Comfortable.
Freaking out.
We're comfortable in chaos.
Yeah,
and I say that all the time, and people are always like, "That's fucked up." And I go, "That was my life growing up. I was just, and it's not even like super bad. It was just chaotic.
Yeah,
and so I'm comfortable in that, which is why when on stage when something goes wrong, I'm like, bang bang. Like I have my best set when something's going crazy. Also, like, it's why I'm so good at restaurants. It's why, like, if everything's going fine, I will pick a fight with my girlfriend. Love you, Tracy. Just because I'm like, I need chaos.
Yeah.
Because this whole, like, just living life, going to work and doing sets, like, fucking, ugh.
I know, but I'm trying to
But that's the healthy thing. That's what we're supposed to do.
I'm trying to breathe. Well, because it's not sustainable, dude. The more stuff that I get,
6 years.
But the more stuff that I get, like comedy wise, or the things that are going well, it's the reason I quit drinking. Was that like I hit a point where I go, this is not sustainable.
Oh yeah,
this is not going to get me that I can have the things I thought I could never have, and this is stopping me hard.
Yeah. So what happened with with Danielle?
Well, long story short, I started dating her because she was the host of the restaurant. We moved in.
They're
together.
always so hot.
She was very hot, and we broke up because I tried to kill myself. That kind of whatever.
What happened? So you move in with her.
I moved in with her, and then money stuff. I just started being stupid with money, and that eventually got figured out. But I was just at my wit's end. I was drinking, drugging. There, no. I got to the point where
this is after the pill situation.
So before the pill situation, this is kind of what led up to it. Is I would stay out every night. Of course, I'm like causing fights with her about money, just not stuff that weren't real problems.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful, nice girl. Her
but
dad
you
was
had
a pastor.
to have, you had to have the chaos.
So I'm like at my friends who lived down the street. Rob's cousin used to live down the street from me when I lived with this girl, and I would go there after work, buy like an 8-ball of cocaine, and buy 3 perk 30s from his friend, and I would sit there and play poker with them all night at a table like this, a glass table, and I would have a giant pile of white and blue powder, And I would
Oh,
sit
so you'd
there
mix the
snort
coke
it,
and the perk.
and I would snort it, and then I'd go home to her and lay in bed like fucking up and down, itchy, like taking a shower. And so that just eventually ran its course.
Yeah.
You know, I'm drinking, and that just ran its course. Tried to kill myself. Luckily, I was around friends. They called the police. I wake up in the hospital. You know, I got real religious because her parents were pastors.
Yeah, that's it.
So she handed me a Bible, and that went a few months of like having something. But then we broke up. I didn't really have anywhere.
Who
to
broke
go.
up with whom, may I ask?
I can't remember.
Get the fuck out of here. She had to have broken up with you.
I assume so.
Unless she's hyper codependent, she had to have broken up with you.
I think she was hyper codependent, but I think, but most of it was, most of my relationships end in a thing where like it's just me and them being like,
Come on.
yeah, and them being like, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I know," and it's kind of like that. I think that's
how me and my ex broke up. Is we were
Yeah.
both significantly unhappy, and we just kind of looked at each other, and like it was like one of those things where I was like, "I'm unhappy," and she's like, "Yeah, I'm unhappy too," and I was like, "So what are we doing?"
Yeah. So it was. I don't remember that one being that hard. I think that one was like a little bit made more sense. So I think I came home for a few months because after the suicide, my parents were like a little bit less
Yeah.
like, "You can come back."
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
like
how you
I
get 'em.
want him back.
Let's go.
We start fighting again immediately.
Yeah.
I start talking to this girl from high school again. We start dating again. She's an ex-girlfriend, so it was like we just picked up.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, you can come down, stay here while I do my internship for this last few months, and then we'll move somewhere after." And I was like, "Nice."
There you go.
You know, I go down there,
Where's down there?
Virginia Tech, like right outside of.
Oh, so you're back to Virginia Tech.
No. That,
Oh, no,
never
this
gone.
is-
yeah,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
after.
I'm sorry.
So I'm at Virginia. I go down Virginia Tech. She has no idea how bad my life is. I'm living with like her roommates who are going to school. So it's like 3 girls. I get to the point where I'm like, I'm lying
Are you
about
still
having
acting out?
Yeah, I'm lying about having a job that I'm going to during the day. I'm just out in Blacksburg like drinking. And then
All day.
all day, like random places because I don't want them to see me. And so I get home and like they're back from school and they're like ready. They're college kids. They're like, "All right, let's go out." And I'm fucking hammered. They don't know I'm hammered. So every night I'm getting like super blackout drunk, embarrassing her. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know that feeling.
bro, one time, this is where the jail thing comes in, is we go out, I'm getting blackout drunk. My life's like getting worse and worse. I'm running out of money. I'm waiting on like army money that should be coming, but it's not. And like, I don't know. I was just hoping money.
When you went to Virginia Tech, were you working at a restaurant or anything like that?
I told her I was.
But you actually weren't.
No, because there's like 5 restaurants and it's all townies.
So how
They
are
don't
you
hire.
paying for stuff?
I'm not.
Okay, got it. I'm tracking. I'm with
Yeah,
you.
it's bad.
That's
bad.
a risky proposition.
It's bad.
I did it when I first moved to New York. I'd saved a bunch of money and I had all these, I had a couple credit cards that I'd paid off to build up my credit to move here. And when I got here, I was just like, let's fucking rock and roll, baby.
I
Let's
was
go.
just
And
hemorrhaging cash.
it was so stupid.
to almost nothing. I didn't know, but that's where this chaos comes from. It's like the crazier it gets. How am I going to figure this out?
Yeah.
It's almost like
It's a video
now
game.
I can sleep.
Yeah.
Like now I can relax because I'm in such a panic that like my body knows how to do.
Bring me the final boss, dude. Let's
Yeah.
go.
And the final boss was just like, dude. I literally would. I went to a party one
It's
time.
just God standing there like, you won.
I went to a party one time and I stole someone's phone. I got blackout drunk and took their phone. And then we went to a Waffle House out of the party and I started to sober up and they found the phone from Find Your iPhone. So it's like 3 of her friends just show up and I'm like, what the fuck? I give them the phone. And I don't remember what that conversation with me and her was like, but it was like, that was probably it.
Yeah.
So I'm staying with her for like, we break up because it's like whatever, but I have nowhere to go. So I'm like, okay, I'll leave in like a week or 2, like whatever. Bro, this was so bad. I haven't told this. I haven't like thought about this in depth in forever. But I go back with her.
So you're still staying there, even though
I'm
you
still
broke
staying
up.
there. And then me and her roommate, I started like talking to her roommate. Who's like, I don't know what else.
But that's crazy because hasn't she seen all this shit unfolding?
She didn't care.
God, women are so stupid.
She didn't care. And she just wanted to fuck too. She was like, I don't know how we started talking. But she was like, bro, she was like, I really fucked this girl over. She was like starting texting me and being like, oh, I hear you and her having sex sometimes. And I touch myself to it and stuff. And so that's like started off. And I'm just like grasping at straws.
Yeah, because you don't know where you're gonna live in the next day.
No, and we're messing around. So
So wait, when you guys break up, are you sleeping on the couch then, or are you still?
I was sleeping in this other girl's room because she was like at home when we broke up. Because this was like
So where's your ex-girlfriend at the time?
in the room next to me?
No, but that's what I'm saying. So you and your ex-girlfriend break up. but she knows you're still staying at the house.
Yeah.
So were you like, oh, I'll just sleep in the living room, and then you went into the other girl's room?
No, I told her, I was like, Nicole said I could sleep in her room.
Oh,
She
okay.
thought it was weird, but she was like, well, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I'm throwing her into this chaos that like she's not built
Yeah.
equipped for. So like that's the other thing with like
These
people like,
well-adjusted kids have no idea what's about to hit
but for
them.
real, that's
Yeah.
how people get fucked.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
because people like us can screw normal people because they have no concept of the depths.
The
of
depths
human.
of
They just trust everybody, and it's like you're.
I talk to
retarded.
Tracy
You're
about
so
this
dumb.
all the time. I'm
Yeah.
like, because she's only ever seen me sober, and she's only ever seen good.
My girlfriend says that too. She
We're
goes,
doing.
I wonder who that guy was. And I go,
Yeah.
you don't want to know.
And
that guy.
I tell her all the time, like I make her watch movies about. There's a great movie with Mark Ruffalo called "Thanks for Sharing" or "Thank You for Sharing" about like a sex addict. But I'm like, it's addiction. It's all the same thing. Like, and spoiler alert, he spirals out of control at the end of the movie, and I'm like, this is what it is. And like she saw my one-man show and she's like, I just don't believe that that's the same person. I'm like, I understand where you're coming from and I appreciate that as like the growth I've established, but also that person lives in here.
Yeah, A Star
Like,
Is Born made me cry.
Yeah, it's like that
made me
person is
bawl.
in here.
Yeah.
And so like it's so hard to explain to like well-adjusted, quote unquote, normal people like, no, there's a psycho lurking like around
Yes,
in
a
here.
real psycho, like a true sociopath.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so
Just sleeping with the roommate.
dude, I was fucking around with a roommate. It only happened a couple times. I pawned her bike. There's no like good way to bring that up, but I pawned her roommate's bike, dude. And like she called the police, and I had to be like, "It's here," and they gave it back. So that was bad.
Wait, where did you have it?
I just pawned it at like a local
Okay.
pawn. I just
Yeah.
needed money.
Yeah.
And she's gone out of town, so this is like a thing I don't have to worry about till she's back. So it just doesn't exist. in my
Yeah.
head.
So you have that money
Yeah,
for
so
a
it
short
doesn't
time.
matter.
Yeah.
No, but there's no like this is gonna have consequences.
No.
I'll deal with that when it happens.
Yeah. Cross
But-
that bridge when we come to it.
So one night, her other roommate wants to get dropped off.
The third
at
roommate.
a play. Yeah, that her friend's doing. So she go, "Oh, can you drop me off at a play?" And I don't have a
you?
car. No, I don't have a car.
okay.
She asked my ex, and so my ex is sitting there, and she's like, oh, she was sick that night. So we're still on like we're not.
Yeah. Cordial.
Yeah. So she's like, "Can you drop her off?" And then I'm sick, so just take my car, drop her off. I take the car.
Stupid.
I drop her off. I go to the liquor store. I buy two handles of vodka.
Fuck yeah, you do.
I drink 1.5 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm driving around the town.
So you're just over the course of the night drinking this.
I'm just driving freedom.
Yeah.
I'm just driving around Christiansburg drunk as fuck. And
That's what almost killed me was 1.5 handles of vodka.
Yeah, I drank 1.5.
Yeah.
It was 1.5.
I did it 1.5 over the course of almost 36 hours, and the doctor was like, "You should have been dead like 4 hours ago."
Yeah.
I don't even know how you got to the hospital.
At my worst, I was drinking a bottle of Jameson a day.
Yeah.
Like, easy. But I drink a bottle and a half. I'm driving around. I black out
Obviously.
while I'm driving. I'm on this like rural road. I go off the road, hit a cattle fence, and just for a mile, just up against a cattle fence in her car. So it's totaled. The cops show up. There's fucking smoke, and I'm just like click, click, click. You know, the
Yeah.
hazards are all, everything's fucked up. The cops show up, and they're just like, and I go, I'm fucking drunk. And they're like, "We breathalyze you," and I go, "No," like, cause when shit pops off, I'm almost relieved.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah,
So-
they'll do the thinking for you.
Yeah, I was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I got arrested. She bailed me out. I told her that
She bailed you out?
Well, it's her car.
Yeah.
And she's like, and of course, that's what I mean about these people.
Yeah.
They're like, well, he's probably fine.
These
he's just a lost soul. And it's like, I took advantage of her massively, and I feel
I remember when I got my-
it's something I never don't think about, just so everybody knows.
Everyone's aware.
It caused me massive pain, but the only way I can do it is just to admit my problems. It's the only way I can like breathe.
Yeah,
about
that's
it,
how
is
we
to-
get through it.
Yeah.
When I got my second DUI, I remember I called my ex-fiance because we were like trying to make things work. This was back in like 2017. And I remember I told her I had stopped drinking. And I had. At the time when I told her that, I had stopped drinking.
Yeah.
And then I'd fucking relapse. You know, I was in and out of sobriety for a long
Same,
time.
yeah.
But she was like, well, because I got it in a Walmart during a hurricane in a parking lot. I wasn't even driving. And so she's like, what happened? And she knew that I had a lot of issues with my license between my first DUI. I mean, she paid thousands of dollars to get my license back the first time. So she goes, what happened? And I said, just came from nowhere. I was like, God, I am an artist. Out of nowhere, I just go, you know how I stopped paying for insurance? And she goes, yeah. And I go, well, I was backing out at the Walmart and I tagged somebody as I was backing out. And then the cops showed up and I didn't have insurance. And so my license actually was suspended and I didn't even know it. So now I'm in jail.
Bullshit, all bullshit.
She bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Of course.
And then, because she's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
She's
why would you lie about that?
Yeah. She's one of the nice, and my fucking sister, because I'm like talking, she's the only number I have memorized from the first time I was in jail. So my ex-fiance. So I'm calling her and I'm like, hey, you have to get a hold of my sister. So then she gets a hold of my sister. Long story short, my sister rats me out by accident.
Ooh.
My sister was like, God, thank you so much for doing this for Brennan. I know he's caused you so much pain and, another DUI. Can you believe it? And she was like, wait, what? And bro, when I called her back, she was sobbing and she was like, don't ever call me again. And I was like, no, yep. I had it.
Yep.
I was right there.
I know.
So what did the cops say?
They don't give me any.
What does your ex say?
Yeah, that was beyond drunk. The cops like, whatever. She bails me out. I tell her I hit a ditch. Like I was like, yeah, I had a few drinks, and I go, but I hit a ditch, and so the car went off, and then when they found me, I'm drunk.
Yeah,
same type of shit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's bullshit. So I'm like, she has to pick up her car at some point because it's impounded, and I was like, she's gonna see it's totaled. I don't even think I told her it was totaled. So then she goes to pick it up, and she's fucking furious, and like, I just didn't know what to do. So it's somewhere in between me getting the car back. And like we're in this apartment and I'm supposed to leave in like maybe a week and a half or something like that. I go out into the woods. She's furious about the car, but there's nothing she can do. Yeah. She played cool for like a couple days. Then when she went to pick it up, it was like, yeah, what the fuck is this?
Did she end up reporting it to insurance? Do you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So it was like, I had to pay her $5,000 for the car eventually. My dad did. I paid him back.
Yeah.
But
eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Exactly. Well, it's been 4 years since I've had my life together. And it's like, honestly, I had it together, but you'll see, but I had it together before that. But I go into the woods at one point. There's like a bad day. I'm in my head. I go into the woods with a knife and I stab myself in the neck with a knife twice.
Oh, that's how you got the scar on your neck.
That's how I tried to kill myself the second time. I bled out. I have a photo of the clothes, but I bled out all over myself. I've passed out in the woods. And then I woke up and that's like the worst part is I woke up and I was just like, oh, fuck.
Oh, so you woke up?
I passed out. I passed out and woke up in the woods covered in blood. No one's found me, nothing.
So you didn't bleed out?
No, but I should have.
What happened? Did you go to the doctor? Like what happened?
Oh, fuck no. Nothing.
So you just stood up and
I stood up,
the blood had,
it was like just
cauterized and everything?
Yeah, I mean, it was like loose, but it wasn't pouring anymore. And I just walked back to the apartment and she was like, these people are not
clotted.
equipped.
That's the word I wanted to
say. She has I know.
You're walking through the woods. Your blood is finally clotted, but you're covered in just blood. Yeah. And you just open the door.
Well, I text her and I go...
seemingly unequipped.
I text her and I go, hey, can you throw like a shirt and some shorts like over the balcony? I'm going to grab them. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you don't want to see me. I go, I just need to change real quick. And so she was like, what are you talking about? She comes downstairs and is like...
She freaks out.
Of course, man. Yeah. Like the panic that I caused that girl is that's the other thing with all these stories. It's like they're fun to tell now, but there is a deep. I really wish that person hadn't had to. Yeah, feel those emotions.
I think about it all the time, especially with my ex-fiance.
I mean, that's part of the sober thing. Is like you have to have empathy for that because it's like I really hurt her.
I destroyed this person's life and on several occasions.
Yeah, hopefully it was like made her less trusting or whatever.
Well, now
I can tell myself whatever I want.
Now my ex is married with a beautiful daughter. So she wins.
Mine's married too. Yeah,
she wins.
So she gives me water and like to wash off the blood. And I'm like drinking it immediately because I lost
a little dehydrated.
Well, I didn't think about that, but that's something that always sticks out to me about the moment. Because she brought a bunch of water to like, oh my god, let me clean you, because she doesn't know what to do.
Yeah,
and it's like seeing your friend get shot. Like she has no idea what all the blood's.
And you're so thirsty.
And I'm just like, oh, and she's like, what? And so that's not good. I ignore it. And, my neck swells up or whatever.
So what'd you do? Did you like wrap it, Band-Aids?
Nothing. Just wash it off and went to sleep. I didn't do shit.
You're fucking G, man.
Dude. And so
you're
this...
goon.
I think like a few months later, not a few months later, I think a couple days later or that night or the next day, I call my parents and I'm like, I got to come home. Like I got to...
There's a real problem.
Yeah. I was like, I got to get sober. I got to figure it out. And my parents were like, well, we have to have a meeting to see if you're allowed in the house. And
See, they weren't close enough to this suicide attempt to like get that good favor back.
Well, I ran away from everything for so long and just not talk to them and like.
Oh, so you haven't even been speaking to them?
No, my whole life was just chaos.
Yeah.
And so, and the last interactions we had was my mom. Before I was homeless, like I would just come home drunk. My mom's picking a fight because that's what she always did. And the older I got, the less I gave a fuck about like pretending like I was gonna like.
Yeah.
My mom was the type of person where when I joined the army, I had a model gun, I had a model shotgun and a model 1911 I had to take apart and put back together. And I had them in the house. I had them under my mattress because I knew how they were. And my mom found them one time, took them, and then calls me, just me, and goes, I ran the numbers on those guns I found and they came up stolen, which is a lie.
Yeah.
But it's like you were lying to me to get mad at me.
Yeah.
So that's my mom. And we're cool now. She's chilled out a lot. She's not that person anymore. But that was like the type of.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't believe anything.
She loves chaos too.
Yeah. It's just, yes.
Yeah.
I learned that later in life is that she grew up the same way I did. So we're the same. I very much like her.
That's the thing is with my experience with my family, my dad and I are so similar, which is why we did not get along when I was younger because I blamed everything on him.
Yeah.
And he was just trying to do his best. It wasn't until I was 30 and I called him one day almost crying, and I'm sober, and I called him and I was like almost crying, and I was like, I get it. Like, my bad.
Yeah.
But it took, 20 something years later, I was like, yeah, that was my bad. That's an L on me. That was my bad.
A lot of people's resentment for their parents come from the fact that they don't understand that their parents are people.
Yeah. Just trying to do their best.
They're people, dude. They have a whole life. They have exes. They have all these thoughts that you have and regrets and these things that you think about. They have all that too.
Yeah.
And you think they're just parents, like they just know everything and they got it all figured out. It's like, no.
My dad was 22 when he had his first kid.
That's what I think
insane.
about. Man, I'm adopted. So it's like they just got handed a kid. Like, and it's like, of course you're going to be resentful. They didn't adopt on purpose. It's like my biological father was like in prison for a long time. So it's like she just got handed a kid to take care of, my mom.
God, that's nuts.
So it's like, of course. But anyway, they have a vote. I'm allowed back in the house. I'm there for like 2 months and then police come up.
Okay.
And they come.
So the police came and found you.
They knocked on the door, and I'm 4 hours away upstate.
Yeah.
They knock on the door
from Virginia Tech. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, you have a warrant because it was the DUI.
Yeah, because you just skipped town on all this.
I got a court date, but maybe I did.
You never went.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But they had a warrant, so I had DUI, property damage, and then all the failure to appears from the
from the court dates you weren't showing up to.
Yeah, so that all hit the fan. They drove me back down.
Oh, and all those fucking suspended license. Holy shit, dude.
So they really fucked me. So I got drove down, went to jail, and then I thought maybe I'd get, because it's like, oh no, I don't have consequences. And then a year later,
I'm in the army. I'm a white guy. I'll just show up, and they'll be like, "Time served. Get out of here, kid."
Yeah, kind of.
What'd they say?
Well, I didn't know. I was cried on like 4 hours down. They offered me a couple months and a felony, or a year and a misdemeanor. So I took the year.
Yeah.
And
wait, was a year and a day or just a year?
It was a little less. It was a
God. So you had to go to jail.
I stayed in jail for a year.
Yeah.
That's so funny that
I'm
you say
initiated.
That, nobody knows what the fuck it is.
I know.
Anybody that
we are initiated, aren't we, Bruce? Prison's way easier than jail.
Anyone that knows that I tell that to is like, oh fuck.
You should have gotten the year plus one.
That's
dude.
what they all say. And it's like, I can't explain that to anybody. It's like, no, I was in a tiny cell for a year.
Jails by law have to be maximum security because it houses people all waiting trial for murder and rape. So they all have to be full max shacks. Whereas if you have a nonviolent crime and go to a prison, it could be minimum or medium security, which is way easier.
You can walk around during the day.
Fucking 24 hours or 23 hours in, 1 hour out.
We had 3 hours a week out of my cell.
God, that's fucking the worst.
To go into
for a year.
Yeah.
I was lucky when I got sentenced. It was for 4 months, but I was a trustee.
I got trustee at the end.
I immediately got as soon as I got sentenced, like within a week, I was in the trustee dorm, which was you're still in the cell technically, but it's a huge open air dorm. There's TVs and everything. Oh, dude, sweet live. There's a TV room. Yeah, we'd watch The Walking Dead every Sunday. Yeah. Oh, sweet living.
I got trustee the last few months. That was nice.
That's easy.
It's
an easy piece of time.
But I did jail, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah. And you said you would credit jail to saving your life.
It did save my life. I tell people that all the time. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. It wasn't I don't have a lot of jail stories. I mean, it's how it is. It's just killing time.
Yeah.
But it it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I got, you know what's funny is I have 2 tattoos. That's one of them. And I have one right here that's like nothing. They're pluck tattoos.
Yeah.
But they were the last day I had a drink, and I got them covered up before I got out.
Oh, God.
I got them in jail and covered up before I got out. Because I was like, I'm going to fucking drink again. And I did.
Oh, man.
But during that time, seeing my mom through glass, having them write letters, us having to communicate through letters, and
The fucking phone situation.
Yeah,
You
and
accept
it
a
was-
collect call from da-da-da-da-da.
it was just showed me like what's important and who really cares. And,
Yeah.
And I don't even think I understood that at the time. But I got into meditation. I had a bunkie. I had some really good bunkmates that were like not crazy.
I'm friends with some of them to this day.
I saw one. I did a road gig in Virginia Beach, and I saw the guy that I spent a year with, and we
Dude,
hung out. We
yeah.
made a song. We hung out all night because he's just a music producer now.
That's awesome.
He's a gangster. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my guys, Austin, him and I were, because I was 6 months sober when I went in for the long stretch. Or 3 months sober. I just got out of rehab, but it was for a warrant for my DUI from years prior that I had skipped town on. And they're like, yeah, they found me.
Yeah.
And so I go back, and this guy, Austin, he could not stay off of heroin. He kept getting in so much fucking trouble. And so he was in jail. So we were incarcerated together. Dude, we hit it off, man.
Yeah.
We were like we were having our own AA meetings and stuff in there. And it was like fucking.
Some of those people are good dudes.
Yeah, just, drinking and drugs, as you succinctly pointed out through this episode. Dude, we got to have you back on. We
Yeah.
got to talk about what happens next.
Dude.
What are you doing next week? You want to come back?
I would love to come back.
We'll do a two-parter.
Yeah.
Plug everything one more time. We'll do this in 2 parts. So we'll have you on this week, and then we'll have you come back next week to finish the story.
Oh, I love that. Scott Hall stand up, every platform, literally all of them, and check out grove34.com for stuff.
Beautiful. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. We're going to have Scott back to finish this epic tale of success, really, redemption, as it were. At Brennan T. Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Check out the one-man show, Ex-Drinking Buddy, a comics look at life, near-death, recovery, and redemption on YouTubes. And, thanks for listening. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, dude, this was fun. Boom, we killed it. This is exciting. You can't tell me what happens. I need to hear it with fresh ears.